Hey y'all, I am doing a year update on my Jesus Delivered Me from Depression and Anxiety video that I uploaded 2021. It is now summer 2022. How is it going? So it's going well. Like, yes, of course, there are days where you're like, why am I sad? Or why am I this? Why am I that? You're going to have those feelings. It's life, it's normal. And I think that's why I struggle so much, because I always wanted to be happy 24/7, 365, and that's not normal. And then just being around the wrong people, I knew I never fit in, and once I figured that out back in January 2021, that was it. I canceled all types of people. Like, I was just done, and it was time. It was time to let these type of people go, because there are people who are just going to speak death into, like, word curses. You're not good enough, you're like this, you're like that. They just put you down. They've never said anything good to you, and if they do, it's almost in a condescending way. And those type of people had to go. Like, I would rather be alone than be connected to people who just tore me down to shreds. So, and I take accountability. Like, I take accountability for even allowing people like that in my life. So God had to pretty much, because I was in communication with God too, like, he had to help me let go, because I was still holding on to people who were damaging. And I had to send them messages, text messages, like, I'm done. And then that was it. And I didn't even give them the opportunity to respond, because for me, when I'm through with you, I'm through. Because some people look at you, you have a good heart, and they play with it. They play with your heart, they play with your kindness. And once they realize that you're not going to be their friend again, or you're not coming back, that's when they get very, very angry. So it's best that you stay away from people like that. Physically, yes, it's going to hurt emotionally and mentally, but that's okay. And I just gave my heart to God. I'm like, God, please work on my heart, help me heal, because I'm going to be alone for a very long time, and it's just going to be me and you. I don't want these people in my life, friends, whoever they were. Like, it didn't even matter. People had to go. And that's the number one thing. If you ever feel low, run down to the ground, just look at the people that are around you, the people who speak to you. How are they speaking to you? Are they lifting you up or bringing you down? That's where I started, like, way before I posted that video. I was doing that. And then also I was fasting. I was fasting to the point where it would go for 10 days. I wouldn't stop until the Holy Spirit told me stop. And it was just, I think it was just like water. Sometimes it would just be water and tea. Other times, I don't think I've ever had food with my fast, unless I've only done the Daniel fast once, but otherwise it was always water. And that was the instruction that I got from the Holy Spirit. And I'm a dreamer, and when I would fast, I would have so many dreams that obviously I can't interpret, and God, I would have to go to God to interpret them for me. Some of them will come to pass, other ones I would have to wait, but eventually he will talk to me and tell me this is what that means. I've actually had to write some of them down, because I would have them so frequently that I would want to keep track. There were just that many at a night. Sometimes early in the morning before I even wake up, I would be able to catch what was going on inside of the dreams. And I'm talking heavy spiritual warfare. I was going through heavy spiritual warfare from January all the way up to October. Like, I actually wrote that down. I wrote a dream down in October. Oh my gosh. And I asked God, like, what is going on? Why am I going through this? And obviously, it's a cleanse, and he has to clean you out. I actually had a deliverance minister tell me, she told me that even after you get delivered, he has to put you through the fire to make you just beautiful and just renew your spirit, because that's what I needed. My soul was in pieces. my soul was scattered everywhere, and I would pray to God, like, please put me back together. I am hurting here. Like I said, I put myself in counseling at a very young age, in secret. Nobody ever knew. And when it came out, I was about 16 when my family found out, like, oh, you've been in counseling? Because it was a no-no. Where I'm from, you don't put yourself in counseling. You don't talk to anybody. You keep everything in the family. You keep everything in. And on top of that, I was a pastor's daughter, so you don't do something like that. You don't tell our business. It could be the worst business, but you keep it in here. Well, I couldn't. I had to tell somebody, and I was doing that for many, many years. I think I was, what grade? 3rd grade? All the way up until I was 16, so high school. And I remember it being summer school, because I enrolled in summer school purposely just to be out of the house, just to be away from the house. And I remember talking to a counselor then. I don't know if she picked me up or I went to her in secret, but some family friend found out, and he was not a really nice person, and he went and told my dad, and I just fell into a deeper depression because my dad basically said, you're not part of the family anymore. So this went on. It never stopped me from getting help, though. Like, I was gonna get help. Like, no, I'm not going through this torment. I'm not, like, there's drinking here, there's domestic violence, and you're a pastor, and my mom was a fighter too, but I couldn't hold all of that in. It got to the point where the counselor wanted to call Child Protective Services, and I said, no, don't, because you're just going to get me in trouble. So she just held off, and we did the best we could to keep them apart, but it got to that point, and the secret was out, and by 19 I moved out, and I just remember crying out to God, like, please help us, help me, because I was in such a deep depression. I remember my dad telling me that another pastor prophesied to him saying that I was in darkness, and I kind of brushed it off like, whatever, here he goes again, but it was true. I just didn't know it at the time. And we used to see all kinds of things in our sleep. Things, because we have visions, like my sisters and I. We have these dreams, and now I know that they weren't dreams. Now I know that they were demons. They would be like red demonic eyes, or on the wall. Like, we would be wide awake, and the clock would be ticking on its own. Lights would be turning off and on its own, and just really scary stuff like that. And we told our dad, and he did a whole cleanse in the house. He took his oil, he took his holy water, his Bible, he prayed over the house, but those things never went away. I think because there was just so much sin here that those things they felt like they had legal ground. And this had to be this started when I was early teens all the way up until high school. So I knew something was wrong with the house, just with our family and everything like that. So, and I never thought, like, we would sing songs like to God, like, oh, the songs that we learned at Sunday school. We would pray the Lord's Prayer because we didn't really know what else to do. So my sisters and I shared a room, and we would do that because we were just so scared to go to sleep. Our house was really full of darkness. Now it's not, because I am a fighter. Like, I don't have time for demons and things like that. I just don't have time for it. So I say all that to say that my sleep is a lot better. It's not torment. I'm not afraid to go to sleep. I can fall asleep right away without medication, without nothing. And this is like without, even being in summer school sometimes. I say summer school, like university summer school, not elementary anymore, but I can fall asleep right away. I'm not being tormented. I'm still dreaming. I can remember my dreams, and they're not awful. They're actually something that is decent. And I've had dreams where I'm being ministered to, or I'm in a classroom and the board says Yahweh. I've had dreams to where I'm casting out demons off of people I don't know, but these are the type of dreams I'm having. And instead of going to someone to interpret them for me, which I never have, I go to God, because He knows the beginning of my life and the end of it. So I could never do something like that. I don't want to. I just think it's just sinful to do something like that. But it's just, my life has changed so much, and I watch what I listen to. I don't have any of those Hulu, Netflix. I don't have any of that. I used to. I used to just take them for my sisters or whatever family member had it. We would just share, but I don't care about that anymore. A lot of the shows on there, movies on there, are just not good. I just protect my eyes, if that's what I'm trying to say. I protect my eyes, I protect my ears, because that's how they get in. And then the thing is, what my dad used to do, I do now. Once in a while, I will do a cleanse in the house. I'll throw anything out that is demonic. I will bless the house. I will cleanse it with oil that I prayed over, and just cleanse the house. So there's no activity in the house anymore like there used to be. There used to be a lot of activity when I was growing up. I mean, you could hear things going off, you could hear just all kinds of things, you could see things, because my sisters and I, we could see things in the spiritual realm. And the good thing is, my parents believed us. If my parents were the type who didn't believe us, that would be really sad, because we were really frightened, and they believed us. Good thing they would pray and they tried, but these things just wouldn't go away. But I remember being in San Diego, and I was in the process of moving back here, and I didn't look forward to it, but I before moving back, I had a prayer, and I said, please eradicate everything in this house right now, in Jesus' name. I remember doing that before getting on a plane and coming back here, because I knew coming back here was going to be crazy. My sisters were always sending me videos and clips of this little girl talking, and this girl has been in this house for many, many years. I could describe her to another sister, and we would be describing the same thing. Mind you, we don't sleep in the same room at all, but we were able to describe what this girl looked like to each other, and we were on point. Isn't that crazy? So we had that gift of seeing someone who was from the 1800s, and she was just telling us that she was in danger, that someone killed her here, and oh my gosh, my dad did a whole cleanse, but then I had to come back and learn how to do those things with God's help, and now the house is very peaceful. We're able to sleep. There's nobody tugging at the blankets, nobody pinching you, just causing you not to rest. You deserve to sleep, you deserve rest, and you deserve a good life. The dead is dead. You shouldn't be here. That's what I say. So that's kind of, I don't know how I got into the history of the house, but that's kind of how it was. You just became depressed, because this house is just, there's so much depression in it, and I didn't want to come back here, but there was nowhere else for me to go. I mean, I could move out now, I'm okay to move out, but now that my dad is blind, and that's another thing, he's blind now, he kind of depends on me a lot, so I would just feel bad moving away and just living, I could still move away and live my life, but in African culture, I don't feel good doing that. You kind of have to take your parents with you when they're disabled like that. You don't have to, but it's just something about it. And that's another thing, I was telling you guys that he was suicidal before the same time. Like, okay, what am I saying here? Last year, he was texting me that he didn't want to live anymore. And I was going through the same thing. So I said, wait a minute. Something here is not right. Why is he feeling like that? And why am I feeling like that? There's something here not correct. And that's what prompted me to ask God for help. Because I've never wanted to take my life, but I was having thoughts. And then my dad, on the other hand, was always trying to take his life. So, and I mean, I would find him hungover, and he always struggled with alcohol. His whole family, like most of his family members, passed away from alcohol abuse. So even as a pastor, yeah, pastors do have their falls, but I've never heard him talk like this before. So I stopped everything I was doing to help him. But in the midst of it, I was suffering too. And I thought by putting myself on medication, I was doing myself some good, but I was actually doing myself some harm, because I didn't get better. I actually got worse. And the best thing I ever did was stop therapy. I went cold turkey on my meds, and before I knew it, I was just feeling better, reaching out to God and asking him for help. Yeah, of course it was painful letting a lot of my friends go, but they had to go because they were just so negative. Even when I was suffering like that, they would say mean things to me, like things that were not edifying at all. You know, when you're already down and somebody's knocking down on you, it's not a good feeling. So I kind of had a wake-up call, like I had to let people go. And I haven't talked to them ever since. So yeah, it becomes a lonely life walking with God, but I don't want you to look at it like it's a negative thing. He will bring the right people to you, the right friendships, the right relationships, the ones that edify you, the ones that help you see him instead of just the world, because the world is not a really good place right now, and we need God more than ever. If I were to have stayed the way I stayed, I don't know where I would be, to be honest with you. I would probably still be suffering, like mentally and emotionally, because I have a job, but I wouldn't be in school. I would probably still have the same friends, the same awful relationship that I basically broke out of because it was just so toxic and it was just draining me. I probably would have, I don't know. I'm not going to say I would have taken my life because I don't do that stuff. I was having thoughts, and that's very dangerous. That means like they got close. You know what I'm saying? Like, that means the demons that got that close to where they were trying to get me to destroy me. Because they were already at my dad. Like, I would find him knocked out, or I rushed him to urgent care once. I rushed him to the ER. I was doing all kinds of things. He's doing a lot better now. He became blind from the stroke because of all the abuse that he did to his body, and I know now that demonic forces were at work, and we're gonna get him straight. We're gonna get him together, and I'm glad that God equipped me with the tools and this fight to be able to take them on, and I know with his help he'll be okay too. God should have been the one. My mom was right. She would always tell me God is the only answer to the depression and anxiety, but she just had a way of saying it that it didn't sound good. Like, my mom has a way of saying things that it's the presentation. I love her, but the way she presents things, it could come off really rude and mean, and you don't want to take the advice. Like, you want nothing to do with it. But she was right. I did need to reach out to God for everything. But yeah, I cut the medication cold turkey And as someone in the medical field and pharmacy, don't do that. Don't do what I did. I was a mess. Okay, let's just start there. I had people talking down to me 24/7, like friends, family. And I thought if I just quit taking the meds, if I quit going to therapy, maybe things will get better. Because at that point, the medications were not working. Like I felt more anxious than ever. I was not sleeping. And I felt like the doctor was adding another medication to counteract the side effects I was having. So I just felt like I was being put on more medications than ever. And that's not what I wanted. That's not what I signed up for. I just wanted something to help with the anxiety, because my thing was mostly anxiety. I was anxious all the time for some reason. I know the reason. 1, my past. 2, just not being around the right people. Like if you're having a bad day, you want to be around people who make you feel good. I didn't have that. I didn't have someone to go to and just vent. If I wanted to vent, that person I was venting to would actually put me down. So I didn't have anybody to go to vent. And then 3, my dad was already going downhill. He was trying to take his life, and I had to take him to the ER, urgent care, to get him help too. And on top of that, I was having suicidal thoughts. So medication was not working. Therapy was not working. I didn't connect with my therapist, and I've been going to counseling since I was in 3rd grade. I put myself there voluntary. Nobody put me there. My parents had no clue that I was doing something like this. It finally came out when I was 16. Secretly. I was doing this secretly for many, many years. It felt good. I felt like I could survive this family, because my family was, like, my parents were violent with each other, and then my dad had a problem with drinking, and then we went to church. Like, he was a pastor and everything. It was just weird. But it never made me stop loving God. I actually loved God very much. I would join the Sunday school. I loved being, like, as I got older, I loved going to Bible camps and just helping other kids learn how to read. And I just loved participating in the church and being part of the choir. So it never really stopped me from loving God, despite what my family was like. Like, we really were not living like how, like, my family was not the example, period. But it didn't stop me from loving God and growing up, to love Him. So, let's just put that out there. And it didn't stop me from loving them either. I still loved them even after they pretty much said, you getting counseling is like betrayal. Because in African households, you don't do something like that. You don't, maybe not all, I shouldn't say that. In my family, you don't get counseling. You don't do something like that. You don't put our business out there. Because it got to the point where Child Protective Services was going to be called. They were going to call because it said there was violence here. Excuse the noise in the background. I'm semi-outside. And yeah, I fell into an even deeper depression after 16. It was one of the most darkest times of my life. I do remember that. Things like my family, just not all of them, but a lot of them, like the older sisters, were not happy with me. They're like, you let our family down by even discussing our business out there. And my dad said I wasn't part of the family anymore. I remember that. I remember falling into a deep depression after that, and just not trusting my family. And I did end up graduating high school, and I think at 19 things just got worse here. Like, I don't remember where my dad was. He was gone. Like, he just went to Africa for a year or two, and he was gonna come back, but I just remember, like, my mom and my sisters fighting a lot, and I ended up moving out at 19. I was still in college. I moved out, because I was just heavily depressed. And you see how the devil used that, like he hates kids so much. He hates teens. He hates you growing up and still loving God, that he will use your pain to just condemn you and make you feel low and disliked to the point where you disconnect from your family. He wants you alone. He wants you to feel like nobody likes you, nobody cares about you. Because after I moved out, it shocked my parents. Like, my dad ended up coming back, but it shocked them because they never thought I would leave. They never thought that I would move out. But I just had it. I had it up to there. I was so tired of the violence, the drinking, the what do you call it? The fakeness. Like, the house is just a mess. And then we would go to church like nothing ever happened. I just felt deceived. And then I moved out, but I was still put myself in a church out there. Not their church, just a different church. My mom would come visit me, she would check on me, but I wouldn't let her in my apartment. I just didn't want her coming in. And they disowned me a second time. So not once, but twice. Once when I was 16, and again when I was 19. My dad told me, if things go wrong, I don't want you to ever come back. Well, things did go wrong, and I wasn't allowed to come back. So I ended up moving again to San Diego, and that's how I ended up in San Diego. Well, I moved in with my sister, and that was a whole mess. She also disowned me too, so it just felt like wherever I went, the devil was on my back, and he was always making me feel like nobody loved me, nobody cared about me, even though they did. It's just that he made me feel that way. So it never stopped me from loving God. I still found a church to go to. I still found that church family to lean on. And before I knew it, I was back here again. But this time, I talked to my mom, and my mom was not expecting me to come back here, to be honest with you. Like, she would call me, she would check on me. My dad too. My dad was like, oh, we love you, don't, yeah, we messed up, but we do love you, and we're glad you're back. And I never got a sorry or anything, but it's okay, I don't even want one. I just knew that I messed up too by thinking that nobody loved me. So the depression was still there, the anxiety was still there, but then I tried to treat it with medication. I started treating it there in San Diego. And yeah, it's just not good. So, but I would still go to church. I still had that foundation. Even though all these things were going wrong, I still knew that God was there. God was there. Because I remember crying out to him at 19, and I had nowhere to go. And he found a way for me to get somewhere safe. Then again at 24, and now I'm here. I'm a lot older now, obviously, but that's what I'm trying to say. Like, he's always been there. He's always been there through all the hurt and pain, and even through the depression. He just wanted me to reach out to him for that. So that's my year, summer 2022. My grades were so good that I actually turned down this sorority because I don't do sororities. I had this discernment, and that's another thing that improved too. Like, I asked God for discernment, and he gave it to me. So I'm very sensitive around certain people, places, and things. If I'm not feeling good about it, I'm out of there. I'm very careful about the music I listen to. I'm very sensitive about what I watch. There's only so much I can take now, and then that's it. So even cursing, like, my sister curses, so yeah, there's only so much I can take before I gotta get away from her. So that's how much has changed. Like, it's just so many changes. I can't keep up, and sometimes I notice, and then other times I don't. But I've been called Miss Goody Two Shoes by another pharmacist because I wouldn't come out and drink with them. I've never been a person who drinks in my life, I think the smell is disgusting. I don't know what it even tastes like, and I don't want to know. I don't know. I don't like what it does to people, so maybe that's why. And then also what happened in my family, I'm just not interested. So that's kind of how I live now. Like, I just don't care to fit in, and I think this is how I was meant to be. And that's why I had depression and anxiety before too, because I was trying to fit in. But at the same time, when I would be around people who did those things, I wouldn't do what they're doing because it never felt right. It just felt uncomfortable because, again, that discernment was there. The Holy Spirit was there telling me, don't do that. So, wow, it's so much has changed, and I love it. I love it. And I fasted so much last year, and I would have to keep it. Of course, you're supposed to keep it to yourself. But my family, like my parents, eventually knew, because they would see, like, you're not eating and you're getting very, very skinny. So eventually I had to tell them, after it was over, of course, that yeah, this is what I'm doing. I'm in heavy spiritual warfare. And my mom, thank goodness, my parents believe me. Like, they believe me when it comes to the things that I could see. And just telling them there's spiritual warfare happening in this family right now. And they were okay with it. They didn't push back. They didn't do any of that. My parents are very good about that. So, yeah. That's how that went. And God just keeps working on my life. There are times where I'm just so exhausted, I have no strength left, and He'll give it to me. Sometimes I won't even ask for it, and He'll give it to me. I know I have a heavy fall semester coming up, but I know He's going to be there with me. I'm not looking forward to it, but I have to get this done. I'm like so close to graduating my first round, because I have my associates to do, and then I have my bachelor's to do. So, you guys, there's so much going on, but I wouldn't have been able to do this if I was still depressed and full of anxiety. There's no way. I mean, He's done it before with me, but this is different now. This is like this is higher. And I never expected this. So God just does the unexpected. You just never expect yourself to go back to school, but He did it for me. He made it happen for me. And at work, I'm in a position, 2 different positions that I would have never been in had I not been more open and just worked as hard as I did. At the larger hospital that I guess in my last video that I showed, I'm doing things that a pharmacist should be doing, and it's just crazy. I have no words sometimes when I'm working, and it's just, I have no words. But that's the kind of God we serve, like I serve. He just opens doors. He opens doors that you think are not possible. He just surprises you. It'll be quiet for a while, and then boom, before you know it, there's an opportunity for you. Like, people are talking about you, people you never thought that even noticed you, because that's what I thought all along. I thought I was just going to be hidden under the radar, going to school and work, and that's it. But nope, I had no clue that I was being discussed in the offices, like management offices, and I took it. And you just have to be open. I think you have to be open. You have to say, okay, God, I'm willing, and He'll give you opportunities. I was scared at first, but I'm doing more than a pharmacy intern should be doing. It's crazy, you guys. It really is. Pray for me. If you see this video, please pray for me. Just know that 2022, pray for me. Pray for me. I'm gonna be okay. I know I will. I have a heavy load this summer. Well, summer's okay, but I have a heavy load coming up this coming fall, and then in this spring. I'm taking so many credits, it's not even funny, and I'm working at the same time. So it's just the way it is because we're so short. But because I was so willing, I was given opportunities that other people were not, and I thank God for that. So that's what's going on in my life. Depression and anxiety is gone, and if I feel sad, I just know that I can go to God. I don't have to go to other things. And that's the update, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.